Hi, my name's Haley Cummings, and I'm a student who wants to become a public relations specialist in the government one day. I actually started out as a political science major because I've always been super interested in the government and how it works and learning all the structures that go along with it. But I wasn't really sure where I would go with that. So then it all changed whenever I took a class on it wasn't about public relations, but there was a section on it, and we learned about how public perception and how that goes into politics and everything like that. And I realized that communication is such a big part of the government, and it's not just about making decisions, it's also about explaining them to the public. So that's when I started thinking, oh, this is actually a pretty interesting career. I think it would be really fun. So then I switched to being a double major in political science and public relations. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it so far. So I haven't had a ton of experience working in public relations so far. I have taken that one class, and then over the summer, I did an internship where I got to work with the public information officer for the fire marshal. So that was really cool. I got to meet with him and see what his day-to-day was like, and then how he addressed the public. So that was really interesting. And then I managed the social media for one of my clubs. So that was cool. It taught me a lot of stuff about posting on social media, not for my personal self, but for a group, and how we wanted to show how we were perceived, and the best pictures and stuff to put out to correlate with that. So that was a really good experience, and it helped me. I think it gave me a lot of good experience. I think this video would be for people who are interested in public relations, not just people who want to work in the government, but just public relations in general, and especially students who are wanting to get into public relations or are asking some of the questions that I'm asking, for example, with the AI questions, and just are curious. And especially with how AI would answer those questions, and then how 20 to 23-year-olds would answer these questions, and how that compares. So I hope you take away from this video that building trust and credibility through public relations is very important to me, and it's a big goal of mine for the future, whenever I hopefully eventually get a job in public relations for the government. So to learn more about these questions that I have about being a public relations specialist in the government and governmental agencies, I asked the AI a few questions, and I want to see how it compares government relations, government PR to corporate PR, and then what the most significant challenges are when handling sensitive information and classified information, but also being transparent with the public, how the PR team handles crises, and if those crises change based on the severity and type of crisis. So basically, I asked AI to give me answers, and they were interesting, but I wanted to get an idea of how people my age felt about it, just to get a broader idea and a more specific idea of if what the AI was giving me was also comparable to what students like me from different backgrounds also thought. So then I went around campus, and I did a little bit of an experiment. I asked 25 people from all different, they weren't just in my major or my classes, just in the library and on the sidewalks, the questions, and then what they thought. So what surprised me most was how similar the answers were. Most students agreed that the hardest part of transparency is answering questions fully without giving away sensitive or classified details. And many felt that the government can be transparent sometimes, but not always, which sometimes creates mistrust and lowers their credibility. When it comes to crisis communication, almost everyone said the type of crisis makes a difference, but you won't handle a small crisis how you would a big one, or you wouldn't handle a national emergency crisis as like a town crisis, if that makes sense. So that was really interesting to see, and it was very interesting to see specifically the students' answers, because it kind of surprised me, because I feel like whenever you're asking these questions about the government and transparency and classified details, a lot of people have a lot of strong opinions, and a lot of those opinions differ a lot of the time. So a lot of them were pretty much similar. They all said pretty much the same thing, which I thought was interesting, because I feel like when it comes to the government, everybody has a different opinion on how things should be run. So on the AI and the student answers, most of them were pretty much the same vibe, except the AI questions were a lot more like broad, and the students were a little bit more based on their experiences, which you could tell that the AI didn't have those experiences, if that makes sense. It was the tone of which they were answered. The AI's answers sounded polished, like they said things like communicate quickly, show empathy, be clear about what you know. Students were more skeptical about saying how government PR gives vague answers or the bare minimum. This made me realize that how much public perception can differ by who it's written by. Because obviously you're writing it by your personal experiences and not just as a general whole, which I feel like the AI was. For me, the biggest takeaway is that public relations in government is about more than just messaging. It's about building trust and credibility through what you're saying and through the message that you're giving. People want honesty, even when full transparency isn't possible, because obviously you can't have full transparency when you're handling sensitive information that concerns the national security of the nation. But just being upfront about it and saying this is what we have. It's a hard balance, but it's one I'd like to manage in the future, and one that I would like to prioritize. Doing this project confirmed that I wanted to continue to work to have a career in government relations, and because I enjoy talking to people and answering these tricky questions and doing the balancing act of being transparent and handling those secretive information, and helping connect the public with what's actually happening in the government. So just being forthcoming with information, but also being upfront about what we can and cannot say. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope it answered some of the questions that you have, and any of the questions that, like, why would somebody go into government relations? What would you do with a double major in political science and public relations and advertisement? Just like, they're two very different things. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video.